Hey, what's up guys, it's Liam or Weagle on your Overwatch, back with a new video today. I'm going to go through how to set up and utilize a dive comp in Overwatch. If you don't know what one is, then I will link in the description our what is a dive comp video. However, this time we'll be showing through how to set one up and really use it and dominate some games with it. Now, I'm specifically not just going to talk about 6-stack, which could be easy to do because it's much easier to perform a dive comp in a 6-stack. However, I've managed to do it in solo and duo queue with a friend or two, and it can really help to win a game a lot easier than trying to play the poke at the choke meta. So what is this? Well, what happens at a lot of levels of play if you come to a choke point, like at the start of Hanamura where you go to push through, or the start of Anubis where you go under the arches. Poking at the choke is where your team just stand there and fire damage at the enemy team. They've got the advantage, so they do more damage to you, and you charge their ult and effectively get nowhere. Poking at the choke meta is something that you do not want to be doing. It doesn't work. It simply doesn't. And a dive comp is an easier way to get out of that, and even setting up a partial one will really help out the solo queue teammates that you group up with. So I want to start with the components of a dive comp, and there's three main components that should be a part of just about any dive comp, and that is Lucio, Zarya, and Winston. Now, Winston is one of the best tanks in the game, probably second to Reinhardt, although a lot of people don't realise his real tanking potential. So what you want to be doing, simply, is having your Winston take ground. When Winston does this, it forces the enemy team to focus him, which then means their focus is away from the rest of your team, giving them the opportunity to also go in. Now, there are different kinds of dive comps, because some of them the whole team will dive in, and some of them you will create space for your team, and then they will come in with you. So there's different ways you can do this. So the first thing I want to do is show you an actual dive comp. So we've got Lucio, Zarya, and Winston, as mentioned before. So this is like the core elements of having this team. So what Zarya should be doing, and any Zarya should know this in solo queue, in 6-stack, whatever it may be, Zarya should be shielding something when it jumps in to protect it. Do not use your shield on an ally just to gain charge at the start of a game. You save it for when they jump in, because you're guaranteed to get charged. If your Winston dives in, you then shield him, he's going to get 50% charge. Once the shield's been absorbed and the Winston is in there and it takes away the enemy's focus on the rest of your team, he should then drop his barrier. This will give your team the opportunity to push in even further and surround them on the point and hopefully wipe them. What should be happening is the Genji should be diving with a Winston if Genji is your main DPS. But in the current state of things, you can have two DPSs in this, where you can have a Reaper as well, as Reaper is so good, and have Ana as your second healer, because Nano Boost on Reaper is the strongest thing in the game right now. Now, if you're watching this video down the line, that may have changed, but dive comps have always been changing since the release of the game. Now, there's another interesting dive comp at the minute that can be set up, which again is the same three components of Lucio, Zarya, Winston, and you can also still take Genji or Tracer. However, you can go Ana and Reinhardt. Because of the speed boost, the Rein can move really fast, and because of how good Nano Boost is, you can get it very often. This way you can turn your Reinhardt into a speedy tank and actually get him as part of the dive comp when jumping towards the point. Dive comps are just about the best thing to run on attack at the minute, and I don't know if that'll ever change. There would have to be some significant changes for them not to be extremely powerful. So the next thing we would need to talk about really is, once your Winston has dived in, well, what should he be doing? Well, he should be diving in for the healers. As I've said before, this will take away the enemy's focus towards him and give your team the chance to push up some more. If the Genji's diving him, both of their targets should be the healers. We've done many videos on target prioritization. You can check them out too. You kill the healers, give your team the opportunity to push up and win the point. You've also got a very good combination of ults here, because Genji's sword is obviously very powerful, and then if he is shielded by Zarya and nano boosted, he's going to be killing everything. You've also got Winston's ultimate, which is great crowd control as well. So if you jump into the fight, you get shielded by Zarya, you do some damage. Wait until your HP is low. Don't pop your ult until you have to. Then you pop your ult. That's crowd control. And again, you're knocking them all around the point and they're going everywhere. So splitting up the enemy's focus once more. And again, your team can then capitalize on that. What I've spoke to you so far is specifically 6 stacking dive comps. This is serious coordination, and you won't always expect this in solo queue, and I understand. However, as I say, if you're playing with 2 or 3 people, why not take the key components to that dive comp in order to help force it upon your team? So I'll show you a gameplay now on Numbani where me and Eddie take Genji and Winston because someone already is a Zarya. Now, she wasn't very good at Zarya, she didn't shield us at the right time, but it didn't actually matter. For quite some time in the game, we were struggling because our team were poking at the choke for about 3 minutes. And it got to the point where I said, look, right, we need to actually dive this at the same time. The Reaper was rubbish. He kept trickling. And so we actually regrouped. So Reaper, come back. Reaper, come back. And he came back. And we went in together, and I said, look, we're going to nano boost me. I've got my sword. I'm going to take the ground, and it gives you guys the opportunity to then capitalize on what we're going to do. As you'll see, I pop the ultimate and dive in and instantly go for the healers, killing him. I've taken all the ground, and the enemy team has to focus me. Then they get split up. My team dive in. We ult the hell out of them, and we win the fight in seconds. And we didn't need all of these ults to do this. It's just in the solo queue meta, sometimes people don't understand how important it is to group up. And the first time that we grouped up, we did get everything. We killed everything. And then the rest of the game, the same thing happened. And then when I said to regroup, they finally did. Me or Ed would dive in and take the ground. And again, gives your team, it forces them to push with you. I've done a lot of guys on Mei, and I've always spoke about Mei being able to freeze things and wall them off, forces people to focus fire, and this is a very similar principle to that. It is involuntarily forcing your team to actually do the right thing. If you're specifically taking ground as Genji and Winston, they are going to capitalize on that most of the time and follow you in. If they don't, you've got no chance and you lose. And I think anyone that plays solo queue knows that you have them games, but it definitely works when you're taking the ground and just creating the space for them, which is the whole point in a dive comp. So coming around the corner again, and I've got my ult. We've only just managed to get that point. It took ages because we didn't even have one part of it. But I dive in again and force out a Zen ult, which is a huge deal. Again, it splits up the enemy team, and I managed to go in and kill the Lucio, and I do die for that. But once again, it's created some space. I managed to wipe out one of their main healers, and even though our backline's being attacked, there was still enough of them to defend against the Mei. By the time that they're just about finished it, I was back out of spawn, and their Lucio is still a very, very long way away. I of course have to dive back in again and try and create some space. As you can see, the enemy team are really trying to push us back here, but just doing that extra bit of damage, getting in a bit of space again, creates the opportunity for my team to actually move again. Now, the next thing I want to show you is a very fine line between overextending and doing a really good job of keeping the enemy team back. Again, the Winston dives, creating space for our team, so I dive with him. Miss a few shots, but we do manage to kill the Pharah, and then we just want to capitalize really on the last few people. But forcing in and causing them to fight us at that situation meant we could actually stall out the payload, and there isn't a problem in doing this because we actually then would spawn next to the point. So again, it's all about taking the space and then letting your team capitalize on that in their own time. It's not the healthiest way to do it. It would be much better in a 6-stack to just do it naturally, but it's definitely one of the better ways to do things. Now, being part of a dive comp or simply doing the job as Genji doesn't necessarily mean you have to create a massive amount of space. Sometimes being a distraction as Genji or Winston is enough. So you'll see here that I just dive into the backline of the enemy team, deflect all the damage back at the healers and wipe out 2 people instantly. I don't even need to finish off the Lucio because at this point, again, it's made the enemy team panic. It's made them force out ults. It's also given my team the opportunity to react to what I'm doing and then capitalize on it. Again, I die, so the team's kind of waiting for me to regroup, and they're just kind of standing on the payload waiting to see what the enemy team do. They're waiting for me to come back once more, and I have got my ulti. And at this point, I'm thinking I want to dive the back line, but I run into Pharah, who I feel really needs to die. I do try to kill her, but it does get a little bit sticky, unfortunately. I finish her off, but a lot of my team at this point are in trouble. But once again, I get my ult, and I just decide to dive into the back line and just mess everybody up again. With a nano-boosted Genji, my Ana does manage to capitalize on it. I get to wipe the healers again. I'm back to the original point, and the last time I'll say it, it's all about creating space for your team to capitalize on things. So there's 2 ways about doing it. You can set up a specific dive comp in a 6-stack or with as many people that are willing in your solo queue team to do one. So these consist of the heroes I already mentioned, which are Lucio, Zarya, and Winston. You can then follow up with a Genji, an Ana, a Reaper, or you could go Reaper, Ana, and Reinhardt, and even go triple tank and 1 DPS, because it doesn't matter, because you're diving them, you're creating space, and doing specific DPS in this comp isn't actually the thing you want to do. It's focus fire, so it's dive in as a team, do the damage. Very, very important. So guys, I hope this cleared up what a dive comp is, and it's more of an introduction really on how to set one up and the philosophy behind it. We will do a more in-depth version because I think there's a lot to talk about, but I hope this helped you guys. It's about creating space, forcing your team into a position where they're willing to move, and managing to capitalize on that damage and just destroy the enemy team by splitting them up and focus firing. Let me know if I missed anything in the comment section down below. We also have a Discord, a Twitter, and a Twitch for you all to follow. The Discord is specifically good for grouping up with people, and maybe you can form a dive comp with some people in there. You can search by region, you can search by console, you can search by just about anything you want for people to play with. There's also a friendly chat and mods in there all of the time. So guys, hope you have a great day as always. Take care and peace, people.